morning. My name is Marianne Jarvis. I'm a master gardener, and this is Debbie Tripp, who is also a master gardener. Debbie is the owner of Rosemary Hill Herb Farm in Crystal Springs, Arkansas. She features both familiar and hard-to-find starter herbs and pollinator plants. She also serves as the vice president of the Urban League Educational Garden Club in Hot Springs. She has a BSE in mathematics and is a happily retired high school teacher, math teacher. Although not in formal education any longer, Debbie does continue her love of teaching and learning combined with her love for herbs by sharing that knowledge whenever and wherever possible, including numerous herbal speaking engagements throughout Arkansas. Tripp has been a master gardener since 2018. I also wanted to add one more announcement today. Our next class here at the library will be on August 26th and will be for culinary and medicinal mushrooms. Thank you.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. I'm so glad to be here. I see a lot of familiar faces in the crowd. Hi, everybody, and it's good to see you. This is kind of new for me as far as being online, so I'm a little nervous, but I'll get over it. I love sharing information about herbs. I've been doing this since a little before 2007, but I've actually had my business since 2007. And I taught school and I started my business a little bit at a time. So it's been my therapy through those years. Now that I'm retired, I can spend a lot more time on it. And one of my bucket list items that I did was join Master Gardeners after I retired. So anyhow, I brought two of my favorite books. This one is the Garden Cookbook. This is awesome by Lucinda Hudson. She's in Texas. She lists the herbs and she gives information on how to grow it. And also then she gives yummy recipes on each one. And it's herbs that will, if they'll grow in Texas, it'll grow here. So it's an awesome book to have and it's down to earth. And like I said, she gives you information on how to grow stuff. This one has been written, this is The Creative Herbal Home, and it's by Tina Marie Wilcox and Susan Belsinger. Tina Marie is in charge of the Ozark Folk Center herbal garden, and they're both well known in the herbal community and all kinds of good stuff on how to make your own medicines and that. So that's a little plug for their book. It's wonderful. When you start talking about herbs, it crosses over. So there's so much information and they cross over because a lot of people just think herbs, culinary, that's it. You've got chives and, cilantro and that kind of stuff, but that's not herbs. I mean, that's just scratching the surface. Now, Rosemary Gladstar is also a well-known herbalist and she has several books out and she says, let your food be your medicine. So there are so many healthy properties in herbs. If you would incorporate herbs into your cooking, it will help you. It will help your health because you're getting that good stuff in. So where sometimes you don't need that other medicine later on. So what I tell people to do, because people are tend to be a little bit scared of herbs because they seem like have an exotic reputation, but they're really kind of weeds and they grow pretty easily. I'm telling one, but they do grow very easily if you know the particular tricks for that particular herb. For example, when people talk about they want to get started in herbs, I'll start with cilantro. That's one of the hardest ones. Okay, people get so discouraged because I tried to grow cilantro and I couldn't do it. That's because cilantro is a cool weather herb and it will bolt and it will make flowers as soon as it turns 85 degrees. And you think because you use it in Mexican food that it's going to be there all summer with your tomatoes and all that. Oh, no. It will go to seed. That's not your fault. That's cilantro. So it kind of makes me upset when people, think that's an easier one to grow, but it's not. So my suggestion for growing cilantro is, first of all, if you have seeds, divide the package into 3 and start like in February maybe, and plant a third of it, wait a couple weeks, another third of it, and wait a couple weeks, and do succession planting. And that way you have more and you continue your harvest a little bit longer. There are some varieties now that they have that are slow bolting, so those are good. But also, don't forget, since it's cool weather crop, you can start planting again in the middle of summer and have a fall crop. So if you have been one of those secretly who tried cilantro, you're trying to get over it, that's the trouble with cilantro. So what I'm going to do today is talk about some of my favorite ones, and I'm going to pass them around, and we'll talk about how to grow them and all that. So probably just yell out if you want to questions. Let's start with mint, because actually, if you're going to start with an easy herb to grow, that would be mint. If you have a manicured lawn, do not get this. Keep it in a pot. It will spread, which, that could be a good thing and not. It just depends on your personal preference. Also, I just want to say too, if you tend to be allergic to plants, don't be messing around with these. We don't want somebody, falling out. And also, none of this information is intended to cure, diagnose, or all the, disclaimer about medicinal stuff. This is informational, educational information based on research. And so there you have it. I'm clear. So don't eat this and then get sick. So peppermint, and by the way, I was going to have enough plants to, 2 of each to, pass on this side and that side. And we had this little hailstorm this past week.
Yeah.
So I was lucky to find 18 plants that weren't shredded. So in the pots and all that. But, the good thing is they'll grow back. They look horrible this week, but 2 weeks from now, they'll be good to go. So anyway, when I'm passing these around to get the full, scent, if you take the leaf and rub the bottom of the leaf where the vein is, that releases the most essential oil. And so probably from the person in front of you, if they pinched it, then you can still smell it. But you can smell your finger or you can smell the plant. So this is peppermint. And if you would pass this way and then back up this way, okay? So peppermint, it will grow everywhere. It doesn't care, you think mostly herbs need all day sun and all that. Oh, no. Mints, put them in a pot and you can keep them in the kitchen. You can keep them in a shaded area, whatever. If you put them in the ground, they will spread everywhere. But a little trick about mint too, if you have grown mint or tried to in a pot and they start looking really cruddy and there's all mint leaves all around the edge and nothing in the middle, that's because those little suckers are trying to escape. And they've got roots that are running around that bottom and they're going to try and get out of that pot. So what you do is you yank them out of there, you cut your plant in 4s. I know that sounds drastic, but that's okay. Mint, you got to rough up. So you take the outside and put it to the inside of the pot and then add some more dirt. And that will make them fill out and you'll start getting more growth in the center and it'll be wonderful. And they last forever and ever. They'll go away in winter, but they'll come back unless it was like this past winter. Lord only knows what, would come back. Okay, so there's other varieties. This is chocolate mint, which smells like peppermint patty candy, which is yummy. And you can put it in all kinds of stuff, in desserts and brownies and coffee. And this one is, I didn't mark it. I did, but I lost it. This is orange mint. So it's got another little different scent and flavor to it. But mint is an easy one to get started, and you don't have, and another great thing about herbs is almost all of them do well in containers. And you can put a lot of herbs together in the same container if they have the same growing. You don't want to put peppermint in with the rosemary because peppermint needs the water, the rosemary doesn't. So that's the only trick about container gardening like that, of putting them together. Let's see. So basil, that's another common one. I get asked for basil all the time. My daughter grows it. I said, that's one that I don't want to mess with. So, but y'all know basil is just wonderful and everybody's using it now and you can get it at the grocery store all year round and all that kind of stuff. It's easy to grow. It's a good companion plant. So instead of just having regular sweet basil, which is wonderful, don't get me wrong, there's like 80 gazillion different kinds of basils. This one is called Greek columnar basil, and it grows up in a column, and it's very profuse, and the leaves don't get real huge. So in my mind, that says to me, there's not a lot of chopping going on. but it will fill out. It wants it hot and dry. And y'all know we're getting hot, not so much the dry, but you know, we're on our way. It's starting to put on better, but those things grow really, really big. And it's just got a little bit different, like a little, yeah, like that big. If it's in the ground, yeah, pretty big. And what's great about it is you can do cuttings on it. You can do double plants and all, you know, it's awesome. They are very delicious. And, you know, try different kinds of basil. There's cinnamon, there's Thai. A bunch of people have been asking for Thai basil. My basil seeds, all those kind of different ones. I didn't use my winter sowing, which I'll talk about in just a second. And they actually they finally came up. It took forever, and then they all got black spot. So it's just like this weather, you know, that's another thing, this weather. If you grew anything, congratulations. So, Marianne, did you have a question?
I do. Is that a columnar basil? Is it a perennial or an annual?
Thank you. It is a hybrid, so it is a tender perennial, and that means that you can bring it in over the winter. It's not going to be real prolific over winter, but it will live. And you cut way back on the water, and then as soon as it starts warming up, it'll start coming back out again. And it fills back out, and you take it back outside, and then it really puts on. Thank you for saying that. Okay, I'm gonna send this around. Is this a wake up? If you're not yet. This is lemon verbena. It's also a tender perennial, like that hybrid. It's not like I've never smelled these before, you guys.
Just seeing if they work.
But, yeah, I just can't help myself. When they're done, that'll be fine. Thank you. So lemon verbena is a tender perennial. It's actually zone 9, so we're just a little bit too cool to keep it outside. I do know some folks that have places on the lake, and they have like, this one particular lady had one of those for 12 years, she had it. And it was in an alcove, and it was just huge. She sent me pictures. It was just like this big sprawling thing, and it was fine outside, but that's because it was in a very protected area. But lemon verbena is like lemon drop candy. I wish everybody, folks at home, could smell all this stuff because it is amazing. Lemon verbena, you can put in drinks. You can pinch it off, put it in teas, make tea out of it itself. Add it in anything that calls for lemon zest. It's wonderful. It's yummy, and it's got a kind of funky growing habit, but it does really well in a pot. You can do it in a pot, and that way you can throw it in the garage over winter. So that's a good one. I'm going to pass this around next. This is for garden sage. So it's a sage. It's a variety. I love them. And you'll see it's got these gigantic leaves, and that's not even as big as they get. When you plant that in the ground or in a bigger pot, those leaves get a lot bigger. And sage is, you know, pretty strong. So I was doing a cooking class one time, and I did sage fritters. I don't know if that recipe is on the sheet I brought today or not. I got confused which one I sent. But what you do is you take those leaves and harvest them, wash them, pat them dry, put them in egg and milk, and then dip them in flour and fry them in butter like you do squash. Oh my gosh. And you think it would be in your face. It is not. They are so delicious. So it's like little hors d'oeuvres or whatever. So that day I was not just a cook, I was a chef. Rosemary, this isn't marked, but if you don't know what rosemary is, come on. That one is Hill Hardy. Speaking of Hill Hardy, there are several rosemaries, especially when you buy them at the big box stores. Sorry, but it's true. Whatever variety, you don't know what variety you're getting. You're getting rosemary. And a lot of them don't make it over winter. They're just not winter hardy here. They might be down in Louisiana, but they're not here. But Hill Hardy will work here. I have one that's called Spice Island. ARP is a wonderful one. So just be aware that if you are getting a new rosemary and you don't know what variety, you're just kind of rolling dice on whether it's going to make it. And you know those cute little rosemary trees at Christmas time? Mm-hmm. Okay, they're not going to make it. By design, just because they want you to come back and get one next year. So just don't feel bad, it wasn't you. Okay. But rosemary is so good for you. And there's all kinds of properties and stuff in it. I do know there's a recipe on your sheet today for rosemary chicken salad. And if you're using, especially like dried rosemary, and you get the little, and they're really dry and they get stuck in your teeth and all that, so people don't want to mess with it. So what you can do is you can infuse your chicken with the rosemary and have the flavor, but not have all the little stuff. So if you have a rosemary plant, the easiest thing to do is get you a couple of branches of it. You can either use fresh chicken breast, or you can take a can of chicken and dump it in a pot and a pan, a thinner one, a saucepan, and add your chicken in there and put your rosemary, just kind of bruise it and throw it in there, cover it, bring it to a boil, turn it off. And there's enough liquid in the can of chicken that it will infuse the flavor into that chicken. And so then you're cutting up all your, veggies and all that, and getting the rest of your salad ready. And while that's infusing, and then you strain it out. And if you use the whole branch rather than cut it up, you just yank that out and you don't have any rosemary, any sign of it except the flavor in the chicken. And so that's kind of a neat way of doing it. Speaking of infusion, when you are using herbs and you want to start using things for medicinal purposes or just to calm down, y'all go to the grocery store and you see all the herbal teas that they have now, ginger and lemon and blah, blah, whatever. So, but you can do that with your own plants. Don't be afraid of it. All you're doing is when you make a tea, you're just infusing it in water. So if you're making an herbal tea, you can use dried or you can use fresh herbs. Bring your water to a boil and then put your herbs in your cup, pour it on, cover it, take it off the heat, pour the hot water on, cover it, and let it steep however long you want. It's not like black tea that's going to get bitter. So it just depends on how long you want it in there. So you're making an herbal tea. And if you put the lid on while it's steeping, then that keeps those essential oils in. You get more of the beneficial components in your tea. So it's not just delicious, it's, good for you too. I'm going to send it, now this one's a different, this is Kent Speedy oregano, which I'm sending the picture with it. It's a type of oregano, but it smells like oregano if you pinch and smell it. But I'm sorry, there's a little dirt on that one. It's a little too bitter to cook with, but it will do that blooming deal. Like on the picture, it's pink, it's gorgeous. And when it starts getting woody looking and, the blooms fade, you cut it back hard and it just keeps going all summer long until, winter hits, it'll die back and it comes back in spring. So it's perennial and it's wonderful. It's so pretty. And bugs don't like it because it smells like oregano. So it's not going to get a bunch of bug bites and stuff on it, and they're not going to eat it down. Deer, I don't know. I can't guarantee anything with deer. All I know is they're still on my table and I live at the edge of the forest. So they haven't got to that. Yes.
I've grown oregano and it does spread. And it smells great when you water it or so.
Yeah.
Is this the same type of thing?
It is related to it. It's in the same family. You have culinary oregano. So you either have like Italian or Greek or one of those, and for eating purposes. And this has just been hybridized so that it does the pretty thing.
Yeah, but I was just wondering whether it would retain that nice smell.
Yeah.
Okay.
It does. It smells like oregano. It's amazing. Speaking of oregano, because I don't have any here, anyway, but y'all know what oregano looks and smells like. It is the highest antioxidant herb that there is. And I was looking at, I was doing research and I looked up world's healthiest foods, and it had, blueberries, everybody knows, and cantaloupe and, all that. Well, it had a section on herbs and I was like, all right, who knew? And this is in my early research. And come to find out, it's oregano was in there, thyme was in there, rosemary's in there. All these Mediterranean type culinary herbs have those properties in it, and very high in antioxidants. And I did not know, and everybody knows they're good for you, but do you really know what they are? I didn't. So I got this book. It was called The O2 Diet. And I thought, oh, O2, that means you can just breathe and be on a diet. I didn't know that. That wasn't what happened. But I did get some good information out of it. And it explained what antioxidants are. And it's the older you get, when you have cells that die off, and usually you slough them off, the older you get, they don't go so fast. You know, you don't get rid of stuff as fast and everything as when you're young. And so they're called free radicals. You've heard of free radicals. That's what they are, okay? So they're running around looking for trouble, and they cause a lot of the inflammation that people have. And everybody knows inflammation is bad. It leads to all kinds of stuff. So antioxidant, what they do is they attach to free radicals. So if you're intaking that oregano and those, you know, good antioxidants, when they get in your body, they'll hunt down those, you know, rascally free radicals and attach to them and neutralize them. So that's why it's so good to eat antioxidant food. So I thought, that is, you know, I was a math teacher, positive, negative, neutral. Oh, I get it. So it made sense to me. But it's not just delicious, it's good for you. Who knew? Yes, ma'am.
I have a question about when you refer to like that last oregano wintering it over, will they winter over, can you leave them in a pot or only if they're in the ground?
Depends on the pot, depends on the winter. That I've had them make it in this little 4-inch pot over winter on tables. Then a couple years ago, we had that below, you know, it was below freezing for like 10 days. I think they did okay. Last year, even though we only had one really bad snap, it went from 50 to single digits. That fast decline and that drastic was what killed everything. I don't know anybody that didn't lose a rosemary.
Oh, not rosemary, oregano. My oregano
See.
came back. It went to nothing.
Yeah,
But it did come back.
yeah. And you don't know.
Rosemary died.
Yes, everybody lost their rosemaries. So I have rosemary. I'll be at the farmer's market. But you know, they can make it in the pot, and it's kind of like it depends on the weather too. If you do have it in a pot, the good thing about that is if the winter starts getting ridiculous, you can always move it, bring it in or something for just that little amount of time that it's going to be ridiculous. But most of these things make it into the upper teens and without worrying about it, if they're perennial. So, okay, so the next one I want to send around is stevia. Y'all know what stevia is? Okay, so it doesn't really have a scent, but if you want to pinch a little piece of a leaf and taste it if you're brave, I don't use any kind of pesticides or chemicals or any of that. Stevia is the sugar substitute, and we get, you know, if you buy it at the store, what does it look like? It's powdery and white like sugar, because we are not smart enough to be able to use it like that. They have to make it look like sugar. So Lord only knows what they do to get it like that, but you know they bleach it. But that little plant will grow in a little shrub. Actually, if you look it up, it's supposed to be an annual because it's like zone 10 or 11 winter hardy, and we're zone 7B. And I've had one on the south side of my house that made it 4 years in the ground. So again, it depends on the weather. It depends on, you know, how it does. But you can take that, you can grow your own, take fresh, a couple leaves, you know, and bruise them, add it to, you know, your tea or your coffee or whatever. Or you can go ahead and wait and harvest it and dry it and just keep it dry. I have a friend that likes it in her coffee, and she uses dry and she adds it in with the coffee grounds in the coffee maker, and that's how she sweetens her coffee. But it's really good for you. There are actually good medicinal properties to it as well. It's good for blood pressure, and go figure your sugar level in your body. A sugar substitute. It's almost like someone knew what they were doing when they made it. I know. Another thing is I've really got, since I'm in the Urban League, and it's HERB, Herb in League. It was the name before I joined it. Sorry about the name, but it's not very clever. But we meet the fourth Tuesday of the month at the Math and Science School at 6:00 at night. And we get together and just talk about herbs and how to use them and all that. And we do get into a lot of medicinal properties of herbs. And I would just like to say too, anything, before you put anything in or on your body, research it.
Thank you.
Because everybody has their own body. Everybody has their own issues. You know, whatever is on a tag or whatever somebody tells you about a herb or anything for that matter, food even. It's up to you to be your own advocate, and before you start getting involved in this stuff, because although it's just, oh, well, it's just a plant in the yard. Yeah, well, some of those plants can kill you. So, but for the most part, they're helpful. There's a lot of research. The FDA has done some of this. And some things that they used to use all the time have been outlawed as, oh, they're cancer causing and yada, yada. Okay, maybe they are. But, if you give a bathtub full of something to a mouse, it might, affect it a little differently than if they were getting the right amount. So they can make a difference. They do. I was taking hibiscus for my blood pressure. I had high blood pressure after teaching school for 33 years. I don't know how that happened. But so I was taking hibiscus tea and it really was doing good. And the thing about it is you're supposed to take it for a period of time, not forever and ever, amen. Treat what you're doing. And that's another thing about herbs is if you start researching, you can find things that, healthy foods and that kind of stuff and what herbs will do and combinations and yada, yada. And they're not treating the symptoms just to make the symptom go away so that you keep on and on and on taking the stuff. They're treating the issue that's causing it. So that's important to me. So anyway, I'm taking hibiscus tea and I cut way back on it because I had taken a lot up front. I'm monitoring my blood pressure and all that every day. And it was doing good. And I was like, oh, great. So one day I thought, well, it's been a while since I've taken my blood pressure. I took it. It was just like 90/70. I was like, oh my God, I killed myself with hibiscus tea. I thought I was going to die. It was so low. So I'm Googling, how to bring your blood pressure up. And it was just like water will levelize your blood pressure. So I just went, drank a bunch of water and it came up with just a few minutes. But I thought, oh my God, I killed myself with hibiscus tea. This is embarrassing. But, things like that. And they're only meant to take while you need them. Sure, you can have hibiscus tea and enjoy it for a week or two, however long you have the, picture of it or whatever made. But most of these things, if you are treating something, you don't want to stay on for a long period of time. You want to treat it and you're done. So anyway, also Annie's Remedy is the name of a website that's my go-to. And I would always say, find 3 independent resources to verify your information.
Yeah.
And don't just go to 3 different places. Make sure they're independent of each other because a lot of these places online copy and paste and add it to their stuff. So independently, go to some of the older ones too, not just brand new, the latest, greatest, but go to some of the older places that you can find information on old folklore and this and that, and kind of put 2 and 2 together when you're doing your research. And give yourself plenty of time because you'll start researching it and you'll look up 2.5 hours later and go, what was I looking at? Annie's Remedy. It's one of my go-to, and it's got all kinds of neat stuff, and even recipes on what to do with different herbs. Okay, so this one isn't edible, and it's not $7, but that was the tag I found. This is lamb's ear, and there's not a scent to it, but feel of it. Lamb's ear is more of a landscaping. You would use it more in a landscaping situation. In the texture of it, and it's just so cute and sweet and soft and all that. But I'll tell you what, it has wonderful properties and healing properties. It's like nature's Band-Aid because you can put it on if you're bleeding, it'll stop bleeding. It'll absorb blood, and it will. It has antiseptic properties in it, so it promotes healing. It's amazing, and it's a cute little thing. It's a cute little plant. It will get stalks, it stays kind of low growing. It depends on I've had a lot of people tell me that it's taken over their garden. I haven't had that pleasure, but it will, it can spread out. So you got to be careful of that, but it's just so pretty. But it gets little stalks with little tiny purple flowers on it. And you can cut those stalks, and take a pail and put them in a pail, wrap them around in a pail and let it dry. And then when you take it out, you've got a wreath that's, already your fuzzy little, and then you can take the little leaves and fold 1 in half this way, 1 in half that way, and 1 this way. And you've got little boats. So you can make, stuff out of them, and they're so cute. So they're fun to have. And, texture wise, if folks have texture issues and that kind of stuff, that's kind of a neat thing to have. Little kids think they're fun too, but they're an excellent, excellent healing herb. Okay, I'm gonna send around lavender, and I've heard people say, I cannot grow lavender. Okay, so here's my experience. This may not be everybody's. There's only 2 of them that I'll even mess with in Arkansas, and that's Provence, and this is the go-to French, wonderful. It has the regular little cylindrical blooms on it. It's perennial. It doesn't go away. It looks a little rough in winter, but it doesn't actually go all the way away. So it doesn't like acid soil. And so if you've never had luck growing it, probably you're putting it in your acidic Arkansas wonderful soil. And so there's a few things you can do you can put it in a pot. It does fine in a pot as long as it gets plenty of drainage and at least 6 hours of sun. And if not, if you're going to plant it in the ground, put it in a berm like you do squash up in a little hill. And then when you plant it, make sure it gets at least 6 hours of sun. That'll help with the drainage to put it in a berm. And then you're going to put gravel over that. And what happens is the lime that's in the gravel will leach in the soil, so that helps with the pH because it doesn't like the acid soil. So either that, or you've been using or you've been trying to grow English lavender. I've never had any luck with English lavender. They're beautiful, and they'll last maybe one summer, and it's just too moist. It's just too humid. I just haven't had any luck with them. So I stick with Provence because it's like so wonderful. It's the best smell in the world. And Spanish. And here's some Spanish, and I'm sending around a picture. This one isn't as pretty. It has a real crazy growth habit. It's real whimsical looking, but I'm sending it around because the picture of the bloom on it is so much fun. And they're real fun to have. They don't mind acidic soil. They're easy. And you put them right down in the middle of everything, and it'll come back. They're fun. They're a lot of fun. I'm not sure that the health and medicinal properties are as strong in the Spanish lavender as they are in the Provence. That's the one thing when you do have hybrids, sometimes that varies.
I was just wondering, can you grow this indoors?
If you have a really bright room, because it has to have that sun.
Or a grow light.
Or grow light.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I've never tried it with the grow light, but if it needs the light and the dry. And with herbs, almost all of them, err on the side of dry. Don't overwater. I have people that tell me all the time, oh, I kill herbs, yada, yada. It's probably because they're taking too good a care of them, So if you're a lazy gardener, herbs are for you. Because once you get them in, it's like, yeah, I don't have to do any. I always tell people, care-wise, it's like vegetables and flowers are like dogs. And herbs are like cats, so I'll let you know if I need anything, and the others you got to worry about. And another thing too, don't fertilize. Especially if you're using containers to plant your herbs in, do not get time release fertilized soil because you will slowly kill them. They just like cheap, yucky dollar store potting soil or whatever you've got. Add some sand if you're growing thyme. Thyme can grow into 80% sand. I know, isn't that crazy? So this, speaking of thyme, that's wonderful. And this one is a little lemon thyme. So same thing. It's crazy. The same growing conditions for both of those. It just shows you that, there are different varieties of them. But thyme is, and those Mediterranean type herbs do well with a little sand added in. It's all has to do with the drainage and whatnot. If you are going to, grow herbs, make sure you put them close by so that you'll tend to use them. Because if they're way out, you're going to be lazy. You don't think you will, but you will. But thyme is super easy to grow. Drainage, sun, that's the main thing with that, and a little bit of sand. That's their favorite. Thyme is super good for you. I put it in everything in the fall, everything over winter, any stew or soup or any of that kind of stuff. And if you do want to start using herbs more and you don't know what you're doing, don't get a whole bunch of them. Start with 1 or 2 that you're familiar with or that you really want to try, 1 or 2, so you're not overwhelmed. and then add it to stuff you already make. Don't get some big, complicated recipe that you think you have to do all these 50 million steps. Take your spaghetti, let's say spaghetti sauce, and put your oregano, add some fresh oregano in with it, in just your regular stuff that you already make. And a little goes a long way. You don't have to put a whole ton of it in there because it can take over. But that's one way of starting to use herbs that you really will stick with it, and you'll get more confident, and that way you'll start using different kinds too. The other thing I see coming back up, so ADHD involved, but the lavender, I was going to go back to the lavender. Lavender is antifungal, antibacterial, anti-everything. It is so wonderful for burns, for healing burns. If you get lavender essential oils, that now they have them, Walmart, you can get essential oils. Lavender and peppermint are the ones that you can put directly on your skin. Everything else needs a carrier oil, which means some other kind of oil to dilute it. But lavender, you can put straight on. It's wonderful for burns. I know people have aloe vera for burns, and which is great. It's good. And lavender smells good while you're doing it. But you just put a little, because I know if I'm going to be in there cooking, I'm going to get burned. It's just going to happen. So you just put a little lavender oil straight on. You don't even know if it burned, like the next day, like, where was that burn? They use it in burn units in Europe. That's how good it is. So it's amazing. Peppermint oil also is good, and both of them are good for helping sleep, helping you relax. If you have headaches, and you can put some on the back of your neck, and it's really good to research that if you have any of those issues, because it's helpful, it's cheap, you can get a hold of it, and it's worth it. It's worth trying it. Okay, so pineapple sage, I'm going to talk about next, and it is a calming herb. I've just found this out about some of its benefits. You really kind of have to rub it because it wants it to be warmer. So really rub it if you want to get that scent. But that picture is the blooms that it gets. It's perennial, but just on the edge of perennial here. So if we have a rough winter, you need to bring it in. But I've had it make it outside many, 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 many times. And again, you have that option of just bringing it in for that cold snap. You don't have to, for the whole thing. It smells like pineapple. It's not sagey in any way. It smells like pineapple. The red blooms also are edible. And pollinator plants love it. Hummingbirds and all love it because of that beautiful red, and it blooms later on in the season, unlike most of this stuff. So it's always something to look forward to. Excellent tea. You can put it in summertime salads, fruit salads, any kind of that tropical, whatever, adult beverages, maybe, if you do that kind of thing.
Does that one like to be dried too?
You can use it fresh or dry.
No, I mean planting.
Oh, I'm sorry. It takes a little more water, but it'll start drooping on you if you don't. I have found too, the best watering habits, shallow more often. Like I cannot grow houseplants. I can't, because they take a little attention, and I'm like not into that. So, but those you get really wet, you really soak them and then let them dry out. No, it's better with herbs if you lightly water more often. That's what I have found. And I've got mine in these little pots like this. So, sometimes in summer when it's 95, it's watering 3 times, but there's only so much water you can get into this, and then it's going to dry out on you. So pineapple sage is kind of the medium, I would say more medium as far as its,
PL and Smith has a wonderful pound cake recipe for pineapple sage.
Okay.
Just thought I'd put it out there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We love P. Allen Smith. He's awesome. Okay, so this is French tarragon, which, there's a hitchhiker, sorry. French tarragon is like so yummy. You may be able to smell a little bit, but the flavor is awesome. And you can do, I don't know if you've heard of tarragon vinegars. You can make herbal vinegars and add herbs into different vinegars and let them infuse and, change the flavor of your vinegars. But True French tarragon does not like Arkansas. It's hard to grow. If you get seed for tarragon, you're not getting French. It's Russian and it won't have the flavor. So you have to do it from cuttings or, layering or whatever. It is a perennial, but that's if it makes it through the heat because it likes a little bit cooler. But it's a wonderful, wonderful.
Can you bring it inside there in the hot summer?
Sure, you can try that, yeah. So this is Texas tarragon, which I had a little one ready to go, but it got, hailed on. So I'm gonna tear this off and send it around. But this is what they call Texas tarragon to replace or use instead of substitute for the French tarragon. It's a little sweeter and a lot stronger, but in a pinch, it'll do okay. So the growing habits are way different. Texas tarragon is like bulletproof. It's going to be the last thing to come out in the garden because it's waiting to make sure there's no late frost, there's none of that silliness going on. It's going to wait till it's hot and come back. It grows a little shrub. It'll spread, but not aggressively. It makes wonderful tea, the best tea, just plain. You don't even have to sweeten it. It's awesome. And it will bloom yellow flowers. Its name is actually Mexican mint marigold, but Mexican mint marigold, all the connotation of all the things that are involved in that is nothing like what it is. So I think Texas tarragon is a better description of it. But it's a wonderful plant to have and easy to grow and beautiful. And that's another thing about herbs. They're gorgeous to put in your landscape and with your other plants to make your yard beautiful. They're neat. And a lot of the time you're going to have herbs that are going to attract pollinators, which we all want that. I mean, they love them. They just love them. And the deer don't like them as much. Now, they will get after them, but not as much. But you do want to draw a plant. Well, let me do this one. It lost its tag, but this is called rue. And it's stinky. It's kind of fun, but it's stinky. It will grow in a little shrub. It'll bloom yellow flowers, little cluster flower. It was used long ago as like for worms, like, tonic to clean you out. I'm not trying it. I mean, I can do, some medicinal herbs, but I ain't trying rue to clean out nothing. So, but it's a beautiful little plant. It's got kind of a bluish green to it, and it is a great butterfly host plant, and that's why I have it. It's really neat. It's an old-fashioned one, but it's got new uses. I mean, you can research all that kind of stuff. The only thing about rue, sometimes if you're in the sun, you can have contact dermatitis. It'll stir something up if you're in the sun, if you're messing with it. So you got to be careful of that. So those are things, and there's a lot, like parsley will drop in, pollinator, butterflies, whatever. Cilantro, if you let it go. And that's another thing about cilantro. Please just let it bolt and it might reseed. So why not try it? A lot of those type of things will draw pollinator plants in and pollinator bugs in. This is one that repels mosquitoes. Yes, I said it. This is a bigger one and it blooms, but you can see it got pale. But it'll bloom if it gets at least 6 hours of sun. Stinky, stinky, stinky. It is called Copper Canyon Marigold. It is the most effective mosquito repellent I have ever seen in my life. Forget citronella. It doesn't hold a candle to it. It's a cute little funky looking plant. It'll overwinter. Not if it gets down in the teens. I would protect it if it's in the teens. But it'll come back. But you put a pot of this by your front door and you won't have any flying bugs get in. I don't have mosquitoes, flies, or moths in my house if I put that right by the door. Now, it's underneath the eave so it doesn't bloom, but I don't care as long as I keep bugs out of the house, But they're wonderful to have. And like I know folks that go camping and they bring 3 or 4 of them with and put them around the edge of where they're going to be sitting to repel the mosquitoes. They're awesome. You can do cuttings on them super easy. And a container contains the size of it. So if you want to get a bigger plant, you just get a bigger container or put it in the ground, either, just whichever you want. It's awesome. And also, with mosquito, Repellents, everybody's heard the newest, latest, greatest, lemongrass is great to repel mosquitoes. There's so much more you can do with lemongrass. If you can have that lemoni, why use your lemongrass and just for a mosquito repellent? They are prettier than this, but I'm not gonna pass this one around, but I'll talk about it. The lemongrass gets really sharp on the edges. The bigger the leaf, the sharper it is. So you can get like paper cuts when I get paper cuts all the time when I'm cleaning them out, but they're really lemongrass cuts. Lemongrass is super good for you. You don't have to use the bottom part. If you get in there, you can see how this is, how it's multiplying 3 parts. So they'll all put on their own little roots and you can take them out and break them off and all that. It's winter hardy in zone 8. So it's just barely not winter hardy here. If it's protected, it may or may not make it. But you can take 3 or 4 of the leaves and tie them together and put them in with jasmine rice while you're cooking jasmine rice. Oh, it is wonderful. And then you extract it before you serve it, like bay leaf, because you don't want that sharp edge getting ingested.
No.
Now, if the leaves are brand new, little bitty tiny, you can cut them up small enough and use it. But anyway, it's amazing. It's good for you. And come to find out, there's a study in Israel of cancer fighting properties of lemongrass. So I do lemongrass in my hibiscus tea, and for my blood pressure and for hopefully, whatever anti-cancer properties there are, hopefully that, if it's true, that's a deal. But I take that tea quite often and then lay off of it for a few weeks and then get back. And that kind of keeps regulated without going one way or the other. So any questions?
With the lemongrass and cooking, do you use the root of it too?
You can, they say you're supposed to, but you're using your plant if you do.
Yeah.
So you get just as much benefit of the flavor by using the leaves.
Yeah.
But they are, it'll grow pretty big, so.
It grows real big.
Yeah. And again, the container contains the size, so if you got a big container, it will fill it, however big that is. So. Yes.
Is there a difference in the flavor and the properties of dried versus fresh?
For the most part, I would say that the fresh is more intense, because the drier it gets, the less potent it is. But I don't think that you lose that much of the property of it in the dry. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I have a question about thyme,
Uh-huh.
because I struggle with growing thyme, but I'm wondering if it's because it's not draining well enough. Like if it holds water, will it kill it, basically?
Absolutely.
It just needs to have enough
Herbs
drainage.
hate wet feet. Think about it. You hate wet socks, right? Ew. So don't, just have it to where it'll drain all the way out and add some sand in your soil. And err on the side of dry for herbs. Most of the time an herb that needs more water will let you know. And most of them don't. So, and now while you're getting them established, you want to water them a little bit more. But the best thing to do is water lightly, but more often. Mhm. Anybody else? Okay. Yes,
Your mosquito plant, does it need 6 hours of sun too?
it doesn't have to be effective, but it needs 6 hours to bloom. So, yeah.
So it's called copper candy, but what is it?
Lemoni marigold.
It's a,
It's a name, it's like lemon with 2 eyes at the end. It's a guy's name.
It's the one you have in the
oh, it's right here in the map.
Is that the same one in the middle there with the blue?
This is lemoni. Yeah. And I do sell my plants at the farmer's market during the season as long as I have them. And I probably will be a couple weeks to be there so that they can grow back from being hailed on. But they made it. They just look rough. There's a lot of really neat stuff going on at the farmer's market. And this is the main season, but actually farmer's market is open all year long. Main season is May to the end of October, which means 7 to noon. And then after that, but November through April, it's 9 to 12. So there's a lot of neat stuff going on, a lot more vendors this year, a lot of neat artisans. it's really, if you haven't checked out the farmer's market lately, you need to. It is amazing.
I came in a minute late. I may have missed it. Do you teach cooking classes?
No, I have done cooking classes, but I haven't in a while. And also you can contact, I have cards up here. You can contact me. I do talks for garden clubs and whatnot, that kind of stuff. So just call and ask, you know.
Can you say again, what the name of that group is that meets on Tuesday evenings?
Herb in League,
Urban League?
Urban League.
And do they have a website?
They do, but the person that that did the website moved, and the people that are there now, the president and me don't mess with it right now. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun, and we have refreshments and door prizes. So if you don't like the program, it's still worth coming.
And ambulance well. Is there a good source for seeds for these sort of not easy to find herbs?
So Renee's Garden, I love. They have really cool seeds. There's a strictly medicinal that if you're more into the medicinal part of it. That's kind of one of the reasons why I started doing this starter plants, is because who wants to start that many seeds? And you always overseed, because just what if it doesn't work, so you overseed and then you got all this stuff you can do with it. But people wanted to get into it. So I thought, well, that would be good if they had little plants to start with. But yeah, there's a few of those. Off the top of my head, I can't think, but you'll have my email, just shoot me an email or text me and I can get you.
You were going to say something about winter seeding?
Yes. Thank you. Winter sowing. Basically what you do is use milk jugs and you start a mini greenhouse for seeds. And I used to spend so much money on heat tape and electricity for heat and to get my seeds started, and still they maybe did okay. Since I started doing this in the milk jugs, it is like, I would probably estimate at least 80% germination rate. It is amazing. You just take a milk jug, cut it around where the handle is your hinge, poke holes in the bottom. Don't forget that I did one time, wasn't pretty. And put your potting soil in it, not starter soil. You gotta have a little bit more, oomph to it. So just potting soil, seeds, cover it. I water it in with scalding hot chamomile tea, because it helps with, like, if you're supposed to scarify or stratify or all the fies, whatever. It does that for you. You don't have to go in there and nick the seeds and the chamomile is antifungal, and it kills the fungus on the surface of the soil, so that keeps it from dampening off, from croaking after they come out, they die. Then so I water that in. You close the milk jug, leave the lid off of it, duct tape it, label it because you won't remember, and you set it outside in anytime between the end of January to the middle of March. And I put them on bread trays right up on the south side of my garage. Through whatever weather that hits them, it doesn't matter. The only thing is, if you've got basil that came up and it's going to freeze hard, you might want to run that inside for that night. But you just leave them in there, and then you peek in there, and after they germinate, when they start looking like they're big enough, I yank the duct tape off, and I still leave them there. But that way you can open and close, get them used to the sun, harden them off while they're still in there before you transfer them into bigger pots. But it is amazing, and it works really, really well. So it's worth a try. It's called winter sowing.
Excuse me, you do or do not put holes in the bottom?
You do.
You do.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So I have a question about your French tarragon that you mentioned. Where do you find, you said it's better to go from the plantings and stuff. Do you usually have that?
I do until it gets hot, or I sell out, which I think I'm down to 6 plants. Yeah. Anybody else? Okay, we're gonna do door prizes now. All right. So,
First, I have a question. Did everybody get a ticket? Does everybody have their ticket? Okay. The first gift we're going to give out is a gift certificate from
Sticky Holler Farm, which is my daughter's farm. You can catch them at the farmer's market as well. She does some starter plants like basil and cilantro, but she also does flowers. She has eggs. She's got really cool, all the rainbow eggs, and really good. She'll have vegetables. And she does a really cool thing. She has sourdough, she has dehydrated sourdough starts. So it's really neat, yeah.
And the second gift that we have is from Stacy Highsmith, the Herb Square LLC in Malvern, Arkansas.
And she is also at the farmer's market. I'm trying to get people down to the farmer's market because it's awesome.
It really
But
is.
she went ahead and made a little gift. She has artisan soaps that she makes that are herbal, you know. And she has, I think she has lip balm that she made in there. And there is an herbal salve of some kind. I forget what's in there. But anyway, it's stuff, and she makes all different kinds of things. She's awesome. So I was trying to stick with the herbal theme.
So we're gonna do for the gift certificate first.
I'll pretend like it. Okay. All right, last three digits, 745.
Oh, it's fun.
Oh, yay.
And then we'll do for the second one. We'll do for the-
Last three, 723. Okay.
Come on up.
Thank y'all for coming, and there's not gonna be a note to grow it in July, but August 26th is gonna be the mushroom, and it's Angie Boyles. She's awesome. She's amazing. So thanks for coming.
Yay.